Andrew, I've got a question that I know people are going to ask themselves. As you watch new handlers go through their searches, until they get a feel for what they're doing, they're going to want to know how often they should give a search command. I mean, you're going to see people give the search command and the dog goes, and then the dog gets into trouble and takes longer than what the handler thinks it should take, when in fact it might be okay.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
But at some point in time, they're going to say, what should I do? Should I give him another command? Should I guide him with my leash? What would be your advice to these new handlers?
Well, the way that I train this and handle this is once I've given the search command, I do not repeat it unless the dog gets greatly off track. If they're extremely distracted by something that's happened in the environment, they see something, or they basically when they've gotten off task, I will repeat to them and remind them what the task at hand, what we're performing with them. But I don't say it continuously. Once I've given it to them once, as long as they're actively hunting and I hear sniffing, I hear good sniffing behavior going on, I don't say it again. So it's either if the dog has gotten distracted by something and kind of forgotten what we're doing or sidetracked, I'll say no, find it, seek, search, whatever the command is. Mm-hmm. But I don't say it like as they're actively working. I leave them alone. I know they are obeying what I've told them to do. And if I can see that, I don't repeat it. To me, I always give the example. It's like someone telling a dog to heel. The dog's in heel, and then it's healing beautifully, and they're still saying heel. Mm-hmm. You don't need to. As long as the dog is healing, you've given the command. The dog's still doing it. But I don't repeat it over and over again. A lot of people talk to the dog, and to me, our job is to kind of stay back, stay out of the dog's way. They have the nose, not us. We need to let them do their job. But we do not need to somewhat supervise them. If they forget what they're doing, I will repeat it to them.
One of the things I notice that everybody that starts this Nosework has to learn how to do is line handling.
Yes.
And line handling when they're going through and doing the search. Maybe you want to touch on that a little bit.
Sure. A big part of detection training is us not giving cue. Well, in many areas of dog training, is us not cueing our dogs. It's extremely important, though, in nose work and in detection, because for the initial stages of detection, we often know where the training aid is. Later on, we'll run, problems where we don't know what our friends have set up or training coordinator have set up. But for the most part, we know where the training aid is, and we need to do everything we can not to communicate that to the dog. If we do that correctly from the beginning, they will not look to us for help. So just as far as leash handling, your feet moving properly, there's many things that you can do to avoid the dog thinking that you know where it is. I don't want my dog to look to me for help as far as finding the training aid. I want them to show me, and like I said, they're the one with the nose, they're the one working. I'm going to kind of stay out of the way, but I don't want to cue them in any way that I know as well where it is. And a big part of that is, like I said, keeping your feet moving. When the dog, like if the training aid is over there and the dog's doing a beautiful job searching right here, not pulling them and saying, hey, come on, let's go over there. If you don't know where it is, it very well could be right there. You should let your dog work. So as long as they're working, you should let them do their thing. And then the same thing goes as far as if they do happen to miss where the actual the plant is, the training aid is planted. I'll just go by it and I will come back around, and I want the dog to actually find it on their own without me having to help them. It's much, much better for training purposes for the dog to find it on their own. If they miss it, just come back and give them another chance, than to let them, when they have missed it, give them the help that they don't really need when they could find it again by swinging back around to locate the training aid. It's better that they find it on their own.
And that brings up a good point that I think you should touch on. Let's say you've got a search pattern that's going to be 25 feet long, and the dog goes past the find at, say, 15 feet, and he's by the find, the handler knows he's by the find, and you want to start to pull him around, not pull him, guide him around with your leash. Yeah. How far back do you want to see these handlers go? How do you want to handle that with new trainers?
It depends on the dog. Often if they miss it once, I'll run them back through the whole thing one more time.
From the beginning.
And in hopes that the second time they'll hit it and indicate. If that happens and they don't, I'm not going to keep doing it over and over again because it's kind of almost frustrating to the dog. Mm-hmm. I may circle them back and put them within 6 feet of it or so, and hope that I can kind of just loop them around, and what I often call just have them stumble into odor. Like I want them to kind of just go wander in there and, oh, there it is. Again, without them knowing that that's my my intention for them.
And then it's going to happen. We don't want it to happen, but it is going to happen where we're doing our search and the dog simply doesn't find it. He doesn't find it. So now, who knows? There's a million things that could happen. Maybe we got too far ahead of ourselves in the training pattern. We have to back up the training, but we got to get ourselves out of this mess.
Sure.
What's your advice there?
Yeah, it could actually be a situation where you pushed a little bit farther ahead than you should have as far as where your dog was in training. But you're right, it happens. And often what I'll do, the system that I use as far as reward from source, it makes a very independent dog. So for the most part, when these dogs are searching, we're not doing a whole lot of handler interaction or presentations. If they miss the training aid and we kind of get in a spot where we need to act quickly to resolve the situation, I normally spin the dog back around and I make multiple presentations, several before I actually present at source, and hoping that they'll show a change of behavior and I can pay and reward the dog there. And if they don't, I'll just have to swing back around and do it again. But I don't want to just go, hey, here it is. I know it's there, and I'm going to let the dog know that I know it's there, but I am going to be a little more specific about, hey, why don't you check right here? Why don't you check right here? And then say it's the source is right here, say, okay, check right here. But I'm not going to spend any more time there than I did at the other places where I gave presentations, because I don't want the dog to know any difference. I'm going to be very neutral about my presentations and the amount of time I spend there, and how my hand moves and how my feet move, and all that should be the same regardless if that's at source or if it's just other places that I'm presenting within the search problem.
And that's getting you out of that problem. Then you have to kind of sit back, right, and say, what happened here?
Sure.
Somebody opened a door, is there too much wind? Did I get too far in the training? And you got to back up. Let's say you got to back up in training. Talk a little bit about that in the beginning stages of pattern work.
Yeah, and there's numerous things that could go wrong, or that why you might need to step back. It could just be too in the beginning stages of doing this. Sometimes we push the sessions a little too long, and the dogs are kind of panting and they're tired. And the more tired the dog gets, which is another thing that we should discuss, you want to keep these sessions short, like we do often with other things in dog training. We want to end on a high note when they're having a lot of fun and everything's going really well. Sometimes we get to that plateau and it goes downhill from there. But if the dog has been worked too long, they may be panting and open mouth panting, and they're not really exhibiting the sniffing behavior that we want. But whatever happened, you need to back it down and just make it easy for the dog, or easier, so you can end on a successful note.
We're going to do a number of dog training videos with Andrew Ramsey on Nosework. If you or your friends or you have a dog club that's interested in a seminar on Nosework, you can go to Andrew's website, we've put it on the screen here, and contact him. He gives excellent seminars.